Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine on the Navy Sports Network. Mid's getting set to travel to West Point in track and field this week for the Star Meet with their arch rivals from Army. Pleased to be joined now by Navy thrower Sam Orie. Sam, this past week, even though there technically wasn't a team score kept against William and Mary, for you and your teammates just to be back in the arena and doing some things that resemble competition against somebody else, how did it feel this past weekend for you guys?
It was incredible to get back into competition against like another team and be in that atmosphere of, you're not competing just against your teammates anymore, just trying to beat the person next to you. So it was really a great experience leading up to Army this weekend.
What's the challenge been like for you as a student athlete during this pandemic to try and maintain your fitness, your technique, everything that you have to do in regards to your sport, as well as balance what all of you have been trying to do as students during this pandemic?
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, especially whenever we would go into hard ROMs, whenever we weren't allowed to practice. It was a big individual effort to try to get out there, get your technique down, even without a coach there, get the reps in. I know like my team's done a great job of it. We had probably, I think, 6 PRs in that first meet, even though we hadn't had a practice yet. So we have a very motivated, especially in the thrower squad, that's who I work with. But I know the entire team has definitely been working overtime, just getting ready for all these meets that we're going to have.
As a senior and one of the leaders certainly on this team, to see your teammates perform like that and have that kind of dedication, I imagine as one of the senior leaders on this team, you're not surprised because you guys seem to have a really tight-knit group amongst all of you.
Yeah, it really was no surprise to see those PRs, but it's great to see their hard work pay off and to see the smile on their face whenever they see their own hard work pay off, to know that if they keep working, it's just going to keep getting better.
For you, what gravitated you toward throwing in the first place?
So actually what brought me to throwing was a ankle injury that ended my basketball career in high school. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a gravitation, more of I was walking through the hallway and the throwing coach found out that I wasn't playing basketball anymore. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to try throwing?" And I gave it a try and I fell in love with it. So
How hard was it to master the technique? Because there's obviously different instruments involved in throwing in the sport of track and field, but how did you master that? Because it's not just a matter of, hey, let's pick up the ball, put up against your face, and boom, let's go.
to be honest, I don't think I've mastered it yet. Uh, but it's definitely gotten a lot better. It's a work in progress every day, just trying to get closer and closer to what we think would be perfect. But I don't know a single thrower who's gotten there yet. So
What does it mean to, in this case, having done it for a relatively short amount of time, but to be able to get to the level where you've gotten, where you've been able to do some things that have brought you some recognition individually, but at the same time, those marks also help your team be successful as well.
yeah, so that's kind of the interesting thing about track and field is that it's a team sport, but it's also very individual as well. So it's an interesting dynamic at practice, trying to get people to better themselves to therefore better the team. Um, so it's definitely if you're the one in the circle and you don't throw well, that's on you, not really on the team. But as a team, then you can kind of rally around that, and somebody else can do well in another event to kind of make up for it. So it's still that team atmosphere, but it's definitely individual still as well.
Is there a risk in drifting a little bit individually within that team, where you have to kind of bring yourself back in, or at least try to prevent that risk of kind of drifting off individually, and not necessarily be part of that team atmosphere and be there to support others, even if you are individually maybe not having the best day?
Yes, there's that risk in any sport to kind of isolate yourself whenever you're having a bad day. But I think, especially with our team, we try to keep the spirits very high, and we have like a very good environment of like, even if you're not throwing well or running well, like you need to make sure that person next to you is going to run their best. Because in the end, it doesn't matter whether you or your teammate cross the line first, as long as it's a Navy person. So just kind of keep the spirits up that way, even when you're not competing well.
I know when you're outdoors, you got a lot of different elements that could, particularly come into play. But indoors, is there a difference at all based on the facility that you're throwing in? In terms of doing well, is it pretty much the same thing? Can you isolate yourself? Hey, we're indoors. There's no wind. There's no other things that we have to worry about. Or is there a difference when you go into another facility like you are at West Point coming up this weekend?
There's always kind of just being in a different environment is always a different feeling. I know a few of our youngsters haven't been up to West Point yet to compete, so that'll be different for them. But when it goes like circle to circle where we compete, there's not too much of a difference. But yeah, other than just having that new environment,
For
that's
you, you're this close to the finish line here at the Naval Academy. What's the journey been like? And obviously now you're closing in on something that, let's face it, you're going to be a part of a very elite fraternity of people that graduate from the Naval Academy. What's the journey been like, and how excited are you now for graduation?
I'm very excited for graduation. The journey has had its ups and downs, but it's not something I'd trade for the world. It has been an incredible experience, both on the team and in the hall, and I'm really looking forward to graduation.
Sam, great job. Appreciate the time this morning. Best of luck to you and your teammates against Army coming up in the Star Meet this weekend.
Thank you.